All right, this video will cover notes for section 5.4, and 5.4 deals with factoring trinomial. Starting with the first problem, where we're asked to multiply, we have two expressions, 2x plus 3 times 3x minus 4. Now, you may be familiar with the term FOIL. You're going to use the FOIL method to multiply these two expressions. F in the FOIL method stands for the first terms. O stands for the outer terms. I stands for the inner terms. And L stands for the last term. So you'll multiply the first terms together. That's 2x times 3x. And 2x times 3x gives us 6x squared. And then the outer terms, 2x times minus 4. 2x times minus 4 gives us negative 8x. And then the inner terms, 3 times 3x, that gives us 9x. And then the last term in that first set of parentheses, 3, times the last term in that second set of parentheses, negative 4. 3 times negative 4, that gives us negative 12. Then we combine like terms. Look in the middle, negative 8x plus 9x, those are like terms, and we can combine them. Negative 8x plus 9x gives us 1x. And then we carry down the 6x squared in front and the minus 12 behind. But this is our answer. 6x squared plus x minus 12. Now we'll do that FOIL method again for the next two problems. First terms, x times x gives us x squared. Last terms, or the outer terms, x times 7 gives us 7x. Inner terms, 3 times x gives us 3x. And then the last term, 3 times 7 gives us 21. We'll combine these terms in the middle, those like terms, 7x plus 3x gives us 10x. And then we carry down x squared and plus 21. Our answer, x squared plus 10x plus 21. In the next example, our first terms, x times x, gives us x squared again. The outer terms, x times 8, gives us 8x. And then the inner terms, negative 3 times x gives us minus 3x. And then the last term, negative 3 times 8 gives us negative 24. We'll combine like terms. 8x minus 3x gives us 5x in the middle. So this is our answer. X squared plus 5x minus 24. All right. So factoring is the reverse process of multiplying. So we just multiplied those binomials together. Factoring is us reversing that method. Now we're asked to factor completely this trinomial. What you want to do is look at your first term and your last term, and we'll factor using the two terms that multiply together to give us our first and our last term. Now, the first term in both sets of parentheses would be the two terms you multiply together to get x squared. So x times x, we place that first in both sets of parentheses. Now, let's look at our last term. Our last term is negative 100. We got to find two numbers that multiply together to give us negative 100. But when we add them, we want to get our middle term. We want to get negative 21. So what you would do is find two numbers that multiply together to give you 100. We have 20 and 5. We have 25 and 4, as you see, we used here. Or we could use 101. All of these are combinations that multiply together to give us 100. but we need the right combination. We need the set of numbers where when we add them together, we'll get negative 21. And one of our terms has to be negative because we have a negative 100. So we could place the negative in front of the 20 or in front of the 5. It doesn't matter which one. But the key is that when we add these two terms together, we want to make sure that that combination gives us minus 21. And it's the middle combination. 25, excuse me, negative 25 times 4 gives us negative 100. So this is the two factors that we will place in parentheses to represent negative 100. We'll place them next to the x. So we have our minus 25 in the first set of parentheses. We have our positive 4 in the second set of parentheses. So now we've factored this trinomial. We have x minus 25 and x plus 4. All right, the next example we have 2x squared minus 5x. So as we look at this example, the 2x squared minus 5x minus 3, we notice that our first term, 2x squared, is a prime number, and we can factor 2x squared using 2x and 1x. So we place them first in our sets of parentheses. Now we need to find the factors of negative 3. Now negative 3 is prime again, so we can only multiply 3 times 1 to get negative 3. We just have to decide where to put the minus. Do we put the minus in front of the 3 or in front of the 1? So we put the minus in front of the 3. We have minus 3 and positive 1. So we factored 2x plus 1 in the first set of parentheses and x minus 3 in the second set. Now, as you're working through these problems, you can always check your work by multiplying. To make sure that you factored correctly, you would check your work by multiplying the terms together. So let's erase some of these lines and let's check our answer to make sure that we factored this correctly. So using our FOIL method, we will multiply the first terms together. 2x times x gives us 2x squared. Then we multiply the outer terms, 2x times minus 3. That gives us negative 6x. The inner terms, 1 times x, that's just 1x or x, so plus x. And then the last term, 1 times minus 3, that gives us negative 3. We'll combine like terms in the middle, negative 6x plus x, that gives us negative 5x. And we carry down the terms that are in front and behind that negative 5x. So 2x squared and minus 3. Now notice our product is the same as what we started with. 2x squared minus 5x minus 3. That lets us know that we factored correctly. Now let's look at the next example. We have t cubed minus 11t squared plus 24t. Now in all of these terms, we have a t. So one thing that we didn't have to worry about in the previous problems is that if you have a GCF, a greatest common factor, or a shared factor that you can divide, a term you can divide into all three, you want to factor that GCF out first. So because all of these terms share t, we factor t out. From the first term, we'll get t squared after we factor the t. We take away one of the t's, we have two t's left. So we put the 2 or t to the second power in parentheses. Now when we factor t from the second term, from minus 11t squared, we're left with minus 11t. And then when we factor t from 24t, we get 24 left. So we factored out t. The trinomial that is inside parentheses, t squared minus 11t plus 24, we'll factor that using our two sets of parentheses. Our first term, t squared, we factor with t and t. And then 24, we factor using -8 and -3. The negative times the negative gives us positive 24, but when we add -8 plus -3, we'll get our middle term, -11. So this is our answer. You keep t outside parentheses, and we factored that trinomial using t minus 8 and t minus 3. All right, in the next example, we have another GCF. All of these terms can be divided by 4x. So we factored out 4x. From 12x cubed, we'll get 3x squared. When we factor 4x from minus 8x squared, we get minus 2x. And when we factor 4x from minus 20x, we get minus 5. So we carry down that 4x that we factored, and then the 3x squared minus 2x minus 5 we factor using two sets of parentheses. Our first term, 3x squared, we factor using 3x and 1x. And our minus 5, we factor this minus 5 using -5 and +1. So here's our answer. We got 4x outside parentheses and 3x minus 5 times x plus 1 inside two sets of parentheses. But this is our answer. All right, in the next example, we're told a rectangle has an area of 105 square feet. Its length is 8 feet more than the width, and we want to find the dimensions of that rectangle. So we want to know what is L and what is W. First of all, remember that to calculate the area of a rectangle, you multiply length times width. You're given the dimensions as the length being 8 feet more than the width. So the long side, I'm going to put an L right here, is 8 feet more than the width. We write that as an expression, W for width plus 8. And then our width is just W. So to calculate the area, we substitute these values. Our length, we said, was W plus 8. So this is our length right here. And then our width is just W. So we have W outside parentheses and W plus 8 in parentheses we need to distribute here. That area is equal to 105. We were given 105 in the direction. So distributing W plus W will get W squared. W times 8 will get 8W equals 105. We're going to carry this 105 to the left. We're going to subtract 105 from both sides of this equation. Now when we do that, the 105s will cancel. On the right side, we carry down 0. And on the left side, we'll have W squared plus 8W minus 105. See, this trinomial can be factored. We're factoring the W squared using W and W. And we factor negative 105 using 15 and minus 7. Now we need to solve both of these equations separately. We're going to take the factors and set them equal to 0. Remember, we did this in the previous section. We're going to take both of these factors and set them equal to 0 to get our two possible solutions. So we have W plus 15 equals 0, or W minus 7 equals 0. We'll solve both of these equations separately. So we're going to subtract 15 from both sides of the equation on the left. The 15s will cancel, and W equals negative 15. Or we're going to add 7 to both sides of the equation on the right. The 7s will cancel on the left. W equals 7. Now, based on what we have in our scenario, our width cannot be negative 15. There's no such thing as having a negative width. Therefore, negative 15 is not possible. However, the width could be 7. So we're going to use our width as being 7. To find the length, we would just substitute 7 for W. 7 add 8, 7 plus 8. That will give us our width of 15. Our answer, the width is 7 feet. The length is 15 feet. All right, in the next example, we're asked to find two consecutive positive integers whose product is 72. So consecutive means back to back, and they're positive numbers. So to get from one positive number to the other positive number, we just add 1. So x would be the first term. To get to the second positive number, we just add 1. But we're told that their product is 72. That means when we multiply these two terms together, we get 72. So we're multiplying x times x plus 1, setting it equal to 72. We're solving. So we're going to distribute x times x, we'll get x squared. X times 1, we'll get 1x, or just x. And that equals 72. But when we begin solving this equation, we're going to subtract 72 from both sides of the equation. So the 72s will cancel on the right side, leaving 0. And on the left side, we have that x squared minus, or x squared plus x minus 72. Now this trinomial can be factored. We factor x squared using x and x. We're going to factor negative 72 using positive 9 and negative 8. Now we're going to set both of these factors equal to 0. So x plus 9 equals 0 and x minus 8 equals 0. So we got x plus 9 equals 0, or x minus 8 equals 0. And then we're going to solve both of these equations to get our two possible solutions. With the equation on the left side, we subtract 9 from both sides. So x equals negative 9. Or we're going to add 8 to both sides of the equation on the right. X equals 8. So x equals negative 9. Again, that's not a positive integer. So that can't be one of our solutions. So x has to be 8. That's our first number. And then the second consecutive number, remember we just substitute 8 for x and we'd add 1. So our two numbers are 8 and 9. All right, that's the last example from this section. We'll stop here.